Warmer high temperature will get up near 59 degrees by the afternoon. This has been your weather forecast from the WSIC Weather Center.
All righty. Good afternoon out there, folks. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I have a good voice here. Good afternoon. It is Thursday, folks. It is Thursday. We are almost to the end of this week, the first week of December 2023. And it's been very interesting this week. A lot of things have happened and going on, but this is on the record. I'm your host, your handsome, bald-headed host. At least that's what my grandmama told me, Brian Summers. And we're live here on WSIC News Talk Now, as they say, 1400 AM, 100.7 FM, 105.9 FM, and we are Statesville, Iredell County's oldest radio station, as we are 76 years young, bringing it to you live as we do out here, 5 p.m. every day to 6 p.m., and out on Radio Road in the heart of Statesville. So good afternoon, good afternoon. On the record is this show, where we talk about a variety of things, local, national, politics, a little bit of community. We talk about a little bit of everything, and so we welcome your calls, we welcome your input, and a great show yesterday. I had 4 callers calling here yesterday. It really made my day. It really did. I love the public engagement and the exchange. So, but anyway, we're going to talk about something a little different today. You know, I was up reading up. First off, let me just simply say, back to yesterday's show just a little bit. There were 3 fatalities out there. Well, 1 fatality anyway. It's 2 fatalities, and 1 person still in critical condition. And the shooter at the University of Las Vegas, UNLV, was taken down. And so that's pretty sad for those families out there. It's the holidays, as I shared yesterday. We do still have to find some way forward and something different. Not going to Paramount host again like yesterday, but I did. But I still stand by where I stand on. We have to do something about guns in this country. And I am all about the Second Amendment. I'm all about Second Amendment. I'm just not going to go there again like yesterday. But that was red hot. That was fresh and break. But I thought I'd bring the conclusion close to it is that there was some fatalities going on yesterday. Anyway, moving right along. Also this week, folks, a week ago today, when the U.S. Congress came into session, before they all went home last weekend, a week ago today, there were 217 members of the majority party, 217 members. And just in a week, we have had 2 people resign from Congress who have chosen to not continue on after being elected. This was part of the Republican majority, first off, to resign or to say he's going to finish out this term here, which means ends in December, is Congressman Patrick McHenry from North Carolina, serves in the 10th District, my congressman particularly. And then yesterday, it was brought on that Kevin McCarthy, the former speaker from Southern California, who represents a district out there, decided he doesn't want to continue on anymore. And that took our majority of 5-seat majority down to 3. And then last week with the expulsion of George Santos from New York, that took it to a 2-seat majority, folks. 2 seats. 2-seat majority in the U.S. House of Representatives. I got to tell you, as someone who voted in last year's elections, that's not enough. And it bothers me that folks will kind of give up and stop in the middle of the game. We're in the Super Bowl here, as I look at it, Congress itself, the House of Representatives, and resignations who want to leave Congress at the end of this session really puts everything on the line. And I say that for the heart of people who are committed voters in this country, people who stand at polls, people who knock on doors, people who work campaigns for these folks to help get them elected, and then they won't serve out their full term. I got a huge problem with that, folks. Now, that may not be everybody, But why get in a uniform, show up for a game day, and then refuse to play? That's how I look at it. That's my opinion. Because you're not serving the people when the clerk of the House of Representatives has to find and do staff to handle your constituency back where you are and where you're from. In the case of New York, it is the New York State Party that is going to determine who they pick as the nominee to fill George Santos' seat. There will be an election, and it is my understanding that in New York, they've set a date for February. I'm not sure what they're going to do. They're just going to leave the North Carolina office somewhat vacant until the November election next year. So now what happens here in North Carolina? My congressman leaves early. California, McCarthy leaves early. The constituents in those areas are not served. I can tell you that particularly what happens is it is other officers within that delegation. They are the ones who pick up the work. They're the ones that will do the constituency stuff for the delegation itself within that state. But the people are not served with having a sitting representative. I got a problem with that. And I'm not picking on my congressman. I'm not picking on McCarthy. I'm not picking on McHenry. I'm just saying, I really do. We sign up for the term. It's a 2-year term in the House of Representatives. And I don't know what. Yeah, it's very interesting. So the majority that we fought for in the last election to get a majority of the House of Representatives in Republican control has dwindled down. One thing, we barely had a majority, and now it's even less of a majority. We're 1 or 2 votes away from the Democrats taking control of Congress. And this is all done by us. This is self-inflicted wounds on the Republican side of the aisle. This is anything that Joe Biden did. This is anything that Donald Trump. This is stuff that's done by us. And we have to not feel good and be right because it looks bad. The optics look bad that we have all of this dysfunction. I'll just say it. All of this stuff. We go 22 days without having a Speaker of the House. We're the majority party. We have a speaker. We toss that one out. We're the majority party. We need to pass a budget, but we have to make deals with other people to get things done. We're the majority party. It is embarrassing beyond embarrassing to be in charge, but yet we can't govern. We cannot govern. And so, folks, we're going into an election next year. We are 340 days away from November's election. We'll be picking a new president. We'll pick new senators. We'll pick new members of Congress. The direction of this country, folks, is very, very important. Now, I'm not advocating, anybody. I'm not saying this person, I'm not saying it. Hear me well. But we've got some work to do. And we really got to get our house in order. And I say that meaning that we have to get our house in order. Anyway, this is Brian Summers on the record. I will be right back. Call me. Good afternoon, folks. Good afternoon. Welcome back here. I should say good evening, although it is a little dusk outside. The sun is quickly going down here in the back parking lot of WSIC out here on Radio Road in the heart of Statesville, downtown right here. I say downtown. We actually on a little suburban street right here in a residential neighborhood. But anyway, this is On the Record, Brian Summers. I am your host. I'm your host here every single day at 5 o'clock. Before we went to a break, I was sort of talking about some things that had happened and has been going on the last couple of days here in the country. That's, I think, a national impact itself. And I was mentioning about how we've had resignations going on in the U.S. Congress, and that is a particular interest to me, folks. As you know, I had 31 years there in that building. 99% of my time was spent on the Senate side, not the House. But it was of natural interest to see how much the Republican majority is shrinking without a voter ever have cast a vote to get rid of anybody. These are members of Congress. Patrick McHenry had been there since 1998, and he's resigning. And at the end of this term, will not seek re-election. And so we got work to do. And then Kevin McCarthy announced he was also resigning. And I think somebody in Minnesota is also not going to return to Congress. That's really sad in this sense, because I thought really we've got to have leaders in this country, and we've got to have folks who want to serve and serve honorably in this country. So anyway, I'm going to kind of get away from that a little bit and just talk about other things. I will take some calls if you want to call me up, 704-873-1400, 704-873-1400. I want to talk about a little bit too, and I had hoped to really have a professional guest in here, a counselor, and we would talk about the holidays are coming. And I thought an interesting topic or for discussion, and I would, going to really require engagement with you, the voters out there. I mean, the voters, you, the radio listeners out there. I don't know, I'm in campaign mode. It's going to really require engagement with you, the radio listeners out there, to share your thoughts and ideas. The holidays are coming, and really this came into mind yesterday when I was at the Pharaoh's parenting event, and I thought about, the holidays are coming. We've got folks, many of have loved ones, aunts and uncles, extended family, maybe even parents. And I wanted to talk about, I thought interesting, I was reading a story, and it talked about relationships and the holidays. Like, if the holidays are now coming, they'll be here in a matter of days. The holidays are coming, but what if you don't have that normal family to a degree, or that family where you talk or you see or you get together? Maybe you have your own, but do you do and get together with extended family as well too? And I mean, like aunts and grandparents, if they're alive and you still have them. I was reading an article that said a lot of people spend time alone for the holidays. And I got to thinking, I wonder how many people are alone because of tension in families, are alone because of just feeling like it's not, in your interest. Maybe it's not in your best interest to see that sibling or that loved one or that parent or that whatever. And so I just thought, what are relationships like for the holidays? Can they be difficult? Can you get through them? Do you spend a lot of time trying to be reflective of the holidays? Are you thinking of ideas and times of what it was like as a kid? And how do you handle that? How do you go about it? Where do you go to make that happen? And you say, so my phones are lighting up right now. I got somebody calling in. We'll figure this out, and I'll talk to somebody. Let's see who's calling. All right. Good afternoon. You're on the air. This is Brian Summers with On the Record. What say you?
Hey, Brian. This is James Hayes from Love Valley.
Well, hello there. Again. Hello there, Mr. Hayes, the governor of Love Valley. How are you, sir?
I'm wonderful, but I am so ticked off. I gave you my viewpoint on that congressman from New York. He might be a gutless wonder or something, but I liked his voting record, and at least we had a majority there. Yep. And now these two crybabies that are leaving in the middle of their terms, there's absolutely no reason for them to be leaving.
That's right.
Other than they're not Republicans as far as I'm concerned.
And I think it's very selfish to have been there as long as they have. Both of them have been there well over 15, 20 years. And I think it's selfish. I think, how dare you cheat the people who just voted last year for you to be there for a full 2-year term. And you're bailing on them. So yeah, I will tell anybody, I am a Republican, I am a conservative, I am a voting Republican. This is my district here, the 10th district, North Carolina, and I'm mad as hell. Honestly, really tell you, it bothers me because it doesn't have a good feel, and so now things feel so rushed because you've got another 7-9 days to file and find a candidate who's going to file to run in a primary that's going to be in March. But if you knew in July, if you knew in June or July that you weren't going to run for office, that you were thinking about going a different way, and then you wait up until the 11th hour, this is what you do?
Yeah, these crybabies should be taken behind the barn with a hickory stick and given a good solid lesson. In civics.
Well, James, I hear you on that, but someone told me that they wanted to hear a more kindler, gentler Brian, and so you want to take them behind the barn. That's good for you to do, but I can't advocate taking anybody behind the barn. If I had, I'd say right there in the old bar fight would be fine. But no, just kidding. It just really got under me and bothered me that you stay there and you live off the people's dime for 20, 25 years. You're going out with a nice pension, health care as well. I know because I was there. I'm not telling anything that's not true. I did 31 years there as a staffer, and so.
Brian, with your background and your love of politics and your worldly ways, I can, over the radio, I can see the hairs stand up on the back of your neck.
There's nothing there, brother. There's as much.
You have a wonderful day.
All right.
You have a wonderful day.
All right. Happy holidays to you, James Hayes, and your family, your granddaughter up there. God bless you, man. And thank you for calling in. I appreciate you sharing your views and your ideas. And that's what we're here for, because there are disgruntled people in this county, in this district, who are not happy with being left holding the bag and without representation for at least 7 to 8 more months. That is not fair. That is not fair. That is not fair. And you have really you have really shortchanged the people of this congressional district. In my opinion, it was wrong. Now, I'm not trashing you. I'm not trashing, but I'm just saying that's a really low way to go out of here, which is you're going out with your pension, you're going out with your health care, you're going out on top, and with you've had over 25 years of a government salary, and so yeah, isn't that interesting?
Yeah, well, I'm 80 years old, and I've never seen this happen.
Yeah,
like this.
Yeah, and it's bad because. I'm a little bothered because it's my party. You realize how much I campaigned 2 years ago to get a majority in the House of Representatives? I did, worked polls, stood out, passed out, did things to get a majority and only have the quarterback in the center walk off the field.
Roger that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'll call again.
All right, God bless.
I love your show.
Good deal. God bless you. God bless you, James Hayes, up there, the governor of Love Valley, folks. James Hayes. All righty. Good deal. Well, folks, it's just a little something that just really got under my skin, but I'm still, I appreciate James for calling in. I do. I love callers when they call in. Give me a call. Please do 704-873-1400. But I wanted to find out, we got to the question of what happens when the holidays are here and there's broken relationships within family. There's broken relationships within siblings. How do you handle that? And or do you handle it all? And so within families. So I just thought I would put that out there because it's something to think about. Sometimes people avoid things because they just don't want. I heard a word today that you needed to confront things without being confrontational. You needed to have hard truths in your life and in relationships without it being a fight. But I can say for me personally, I don't want to walk around on eggshells. If I've got to be so guarded on what I'm saying or feeling or feel like if I say something wrong, it's going to set somebody up, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be around you. And so I thought I would just kind of pose that. How do we handle, and maybe it's not anything else. Maybe it's just something that I was reading and thought I would just share. But how do you handle difficult relationships within a family at the holiday season? So here we are. We're almost at the bottom of the hour, 5:30 here. Give me a call, 704-873-1400, 704-873-1400. And the question was, I actually posed this on my Facebook today. I said, the question was, sometimes we need distance for peace in our lives. Sometimes we need distance to give us the peace that we need in our lives. Sometimes I don't need to be there. Don't need to pick up that phone and call. Don't need to engage, especially if it's not well received on the other end, especially if it's not generally, especially if it's going to cause more harm, hurt, and just, drama. Anyway, Brian Summers on the record. This is WSIC. Be right back, folks.
More On the Record with Brian Summers is coming up on the new 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
All righty, folks, we're back, and I've got a call on the line. I can still learn some things, and guess who took me to school today? Good afternoon, caller. How are you?
Good afternoon, Brian. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. It's school day, and I'm learning, and you just took me to school. Folks, we have Troutman Town Manager, Mr. Ron Duck Wyatt on the phone. He has got me and said, here, listen up, move to the front of the class, sit down, and pay attention. And so he sent me a note and gave me some information that, in fact, Congressman Patrick McHenry is not seeking re-election, but will finish out his term in Congress. So this Congress here will end the end of January, and we'll get into a new Congress, but he will serve until the election of next November. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That is correct. The way I understand the press release and speaking with some of Congressman McHenry's staff was the intent is to fulfill his term and just not seek re-election.
Okay. Okay.
Of course, McCarthy has come out and said he's leaving early, and that will leave a void.
Yeah. And I tell you, I really, in my heart, though our numbers are low, I really want to say good riddance. In fact, I may actually see what I can do to contribute to that one-way plane ticket that he's going to take out of TC back to Modesto, California, quite honestly. But I thank you for that so much. And, sometimes I always tell folks, life is a learning thing. And hey, I don't know it all. If I did, I'd have more hair. So, but I sure am glad that you.
I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you.
So,
but right now, the current structure in the House of Representatives is the Republican has the majority at 221.
Okay.
Democrats are the minority at 213, and of course we have the one vacancy with the member from New York embarrassing everybody, including himself.
Right.
But he apparently is not too embarrassed because he still gets on social media and gives advice to other people, which blows my mind.
Yeah.
But once McCarthy steps down, that will put us at 220, and it will take California, because of their replacement laws, the way they have it set up out there, and each state is different when it comes to the replacement process, but it'll be a minimum of 4 to 5 months before somebody from California can replace McCarthy. Right.
I'm so glad that you set that up and said that, because I'll put this out there so that we'll know it. I personally had a situation when North Carolina 9 went through its issues in 2018, and
yes.
He's my friend, and I'll stand by him as my friend. But Mark Meadows, who was then representing North Carolina's 11th district and in the House, and was chair of the Freedom Caucus, came over to see me, actually over in the Senate side in McConnell, and asked, because he knew us from North Carolina, I'd been on the Hill, to come over and sit in that seat of North Carolina 9 while we went through the whole process down here of having a new election, going through a whole hearing in the process. And the clerk, with us, was the clerk of the House actually governs that seat. Don't have a vote, you're a non-voting member, but and it had down to a staff of 5 people, and there were 6 back here in North Carolina in the district. And until we went through the election, Bishop was the member-elect. Until he came, I sat in that seat all the way up until that Tuesday after the election, and so I gave him a nice personalized handwritten note there on the desk, and went right back over to the Senate side. So, and North Carolina, because it's the House of Representatives, no state can appoint. You cannot be appointed to the House. You can only be elected, and because it's the people's house. And but it was interesting. It was 9 months that I did that for, and so it was interesting. But I'm glad that you said each state has their various rules. North Carolina had to have that. They went through the hearing of that fiasco and stuff, and then we know what happened. But I think McCarthy, quick, fast, in a hurry, get him out of there, and let's see what else can happen. But I tell you,
are you speaking of the Mark Harris?
Well,
fiasco?
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
He's the first one that had an election stolen
Yep.
from him.
Yeah,
For sure.
you got that right. Yeah, you got that right.
I'm glad to see Mark Harris is running again, just not in the same district, but he is running again. I wish him much success in his run for House. I think he would represent us well. And this one in Iredell, which our district now, just for the listeners out there, you may have said it, Brian, and I apologize if I'm repeating something you've already said. Right now, for this seat of Patrick McHenry's, Iredell County, which has 27% of the vote for the district, Catawba County, which has 25% vote of the district, Forsyth County, which would have, I want to say it's 22% of the district, and then Lincoln County, which has roughly 16 or 17% of the district, and then lastly we have Yadkin County, which would have the remainder, whatever that is, 6 or 7%.
Sure.
So logic tells us a candidate from Iredell County should, if they're a good person, should have a front row seat or at least the best opportunity of doing well if they're well thought of and all of that.
Absolutely.
What we have had so far is two people to come out that do not live in our district, and they want to run for the office. And I'm not going to dare get into that prematurely of who's good, who's not, and who I'm supporting, who I'm not. And our citizens in Iredell County have people that they know that are elected officials that have opportunities of making this an Iredell County seat, which would be awesome.
Absolutely.
If we can get one of our elected officials here to say, hey, please do, but it's going to take support because both of those two that have already stepped out have pledged their own pocket, supposedly, anywhere from $1 million to $1.5 million. And that's them to advertise to everybody. So if we do have somebody from Iredell County, I certainly would like to support them and hope the rest of the citizens out there would.
Yep.
Because it would be paramount for Iredell to have that person up there. Now, Patrick has represented us overall well. I'm sure some of the listeners out there could call and tell me and you, well, I don't like this or I don't like that. And I'm certainly not going to get into that now because the fact is he's not running for re-election.
Yep.
And it is an opportunity for us to get somebody that we would think would vote the way we want to live in our communities to be.
Absolutely. And you're spot on. You're exactly right. And I appreciate that. And thank you, Mr. Town Manager, for that. And you're absolutely right. I got to say to you, maybe I'm very biased, but hell yeah, Iredell County. Hell yeah, Iredell County. I just got to say it because, the entire time I was in D.C., there was never a Republican elected to anything in all of D.C. that was as a city itself versus being the capital. And
right.
It just was, it was awful. And just even thinking about it makes me a little, yeah. But yes on Iredell, and I think we should, and I think it should. But I got to tell you, my one big hang up, and I said my prayers yesterday. I want a member of Congress who comes back and talks about and talks to the local folks. I want I was telling somebody, I said, I want a farmer's market member of Congress. I want somebody that'll stand out there with me on a Saturday morning with blue jeans on, a flannel shirt and a hat and talk to the people. Hear them, whether it be up in the agriculture area of North Iredell or the NASCAR area of South Iredell. Such a way that he knows his district and his constituency, and he doesn't take them for granted. That's my number one thing right there. Is it how loyal are you to home?
I agree with everything you said, except I'm not trying to play word games with you, Brian. You know I love you, but it don't have to be a he.
Oh,
we got a she. We got a
oh
she.
My goodness! Oh my goodness!
Our Senator Vicky Sawyer
okay.
Could and maybe should if enough people out
there. Hey, Duck, I'm going to hold you for a break. I got a hard break. Hold on. Don't go nowhere. This is good. Hold, Duck. I got a break, okay?
WSIC.
All righty, folks, we're back. And I had Mr. Duck, Ron Duck Wyatt. He was on. He's a town manager at Troutman, and he was giving me a civics lesson. So let's get right back and continue talking to Duck Ron Wyatt. All right, brother, how are you? So
I'm good, brother.
You know what? Thank you. I hadn't heard any announcements or anything, and I guess you're right. I mean, in all terms, I guess I'm just the old country boy guy, and I just presumed the guy. But okay, okay. I mean, again, that's a big hang up for me. Is that again back to the representation and the constituency here, because I will tell you that working for Senator Helms, that was the first thing. You didn't come in with a high title or making a ton of money. You came in answering the phones. And he said, if you can start off on the phones and you can begin to understand who we are here for and who we're here to serve, you'll make it here. And everybody started off on the phones in our office there in Dirksen 215. So thank you for that point for sure. Thank you for that. And again, but I'm biased to Iredell. I'll be honest with you. I am. I do. I mean, if we've got the largest voting block, particularly of Republicans, 27% of all the other 4 counties, and if we can get on one page or get in at least one book, let's see what we can do to make this happen. So, but it'll be
go ahead, sir. I do think we've got an opportunity for Iredell County to have its first congressional representative that lives here, works here, and enjoys in our good parts of all the county has.
Yes.
Every town, whether it's Statesville, Troutman, Mooresville, of course, we got a certain amount of citizens that want us to improve or do things differently, and all the government, my counterparts in Statesville and the interim down in Mooresville, even Harmony, Love Valley, we all are trying to answer to the mass, and the bottom line at the end of the day, tax dollars pay for these amenities.
Yes.
And while a certain percentage may want a certain thing, if it's not what the mass want, or if it's not what's good for the mass of the community, we have to postpone them and then concentrate on the things that we're supposed to. And again, I may be perfectly wrong, and I want any listener out there that's interested in being a representative, you don't have to be an elected official already to go to D.C. Patrick himself was a young whippersnapper, and nobody gave him a snowball's chance when he first went. And of course, he went, and he's going to be there 20 years by the time he is finished. But historically speaking, somebody that has a track record that's already been servicing the public in some capacity or form has a little bit of an advantage. That don't mean they're locked in, but in Iredell County, lots of names have been tossed around. Well, what about this one? What about that one? And some decide, hey, I'm enjoying where I'm at, and this is how I'm best serving my community. I get the most enjoyment or fulfillment out of my job currently, and it's just now not the timing for me.
Yeah.
But a couple of the ones out there, I know at least one county commissioner has contemplated it. I just don't think it's the right timing, in his words. Senator Sawyer, I know, depending on who was in there, because he does respect some of the others. If they decide they're not, then I think she certainly has an interest and has represented us well in Raleigh. And our local sheriff, Darren Campbell, has done one heck of a job as the sheriff.
Yep.
And he, of course, has enough years for his retirement and all of that. But he also has young children. And I'm not trying to put his business on the radio for everybody to hear or criticize or agree with. He's done a good job. That's why nobody's ran against him to be sheriff. But he certainly, when you start talking about national matters, what matters to Iredell County, he certainly can be one of the first ones to tell you we got a border crisis issue that is affecting us right here on the local level.
That's right.
He don't need to refer to a statistician to say, well, what can I do about this? How can I do that? He can tell you how many people that his deputies, he did arrest people in his career, and how many of his deputies now are arresting illegal aliens, and for some of the horrendous crimes that they have committed, right here in Iredell County.
That's right.
That should not be here. How much drugs he has seized from them, how much money he has seized from them because they're in the drug trafficking business.
That's right.
And again, I'm not trying to pressure our sheriff or Senator Sawyer or anybody else into running for office. I'm just saying it's a great opportunity, and if we citizens are motivated, we certainly can get an Iredell County person, whoever that is, to go and represent us.
Good deal. Well, I will tell you that I had a text, an email, and 2 calls. And I said, I left there 2 years ago. Why in the world would I want to go back? I go back to visit, but I said, nah, I like this. I like being behind the microphone. I like being able to share my opinions behind this microphone. And I walked those halls really long enough. And so, but no, I just, yeah. So, but it's going to be interesting, but I am very biased to Iredell. And so, and so, yeah, I could do someone a draft campaign for sure. whether he wants whether he wants to get in there or not. And so there are 2 folks I would most certainly pack my bag and move cross county or across the county or down south or up north to camp out on their lawn to help them get to Congress. I surely would. So it'd be a draft campaign, whether they liked it or not. And so it'd be a lot of fun. But I think that the names you mentioned for sure. And so, but it's going to be interesting. But I hope that what we can do is really the bigger picture things, Duck, is to get our country back on track. And it's really focus on the things that really matter. Infrastructure, as particularly, but it's just inflation out of control. And as our towns and communities continue to grow, and we have an influx of things from the federal level down to the local level, you deal with that. It all really matters. And we need to have a good open line of communication to Washington and somebody who communicates well. That's because it's going to be vital. And this is going to be even more vital because we've got a presidential election in 340 days. We'll be selecting a new president. And so all this is happening at this moment in time. And I got to tell you, it's a lot. And I looked around there and watched that debate last night, and I wasn't impressed with any of it. I really wasn't. And somebody called me and they said, well, I wasn't impressed with any of it. I still want to see more policy and get away from all of the things of me kind of deal. Stick on policy. Give me something that I can sell to my neighbor and take him to go vote, and we go and vote you in as the next president. Or get back to
the thing that we really need, going back to a couple decades, and it's always seems to be becoming a campaign mantra of some, but what we really need to do is have our federal elected officials take care of our federal government, and that's to protect us from all of our enemies around the world.
That's right.
And while I'm the first one that says, hey, let's understand that people want to improve their quality of life and move here in the United States, but there should be a clear path for them to do so.
Yep.
And as I have said previously as an elected official and have said privately as a citizen, I don't think that path should be any harder or more stringent than what it takes for a high school student to graduate high school. Because God knows we're graduating kids now that can't tell you who the last 3 presidents were, nor do they care.
Or know
and
who
that's
they're...
the problem with the United States, is when we can't define our own history, and we don't need the federal government having some school system, a board to where they're telling us what we have to do in North Carolina education-wise. That's not what our country was founded on.
That's right.
Our education needs to take care of itself. And then if you don't have kids graduating with a minimum standard, then penalize that state. But the federal government shouldn't be putting down policy and practices on how and why we educate our children. Because what's good in California, sure as Hades, is not good here in Iredell County.
That's exactly right. And
in all circumstances.
That's right. And as Senator Jesse Helms used to say, you call and the Department of Transportation can't tell you where Cove Gap Road is in Iredell County, we don't need them. And he would just say that they have no
That's right.
idea. And so I'm all about it. History is for teaching. History is to be learned from. It's not to be changed. And I said this even yesterday. I'm so tired of people. Everybody's offended by something. And I got to tell you, I offend folk every day on this show. But that's why I'm back here in this show every hour doing what I do. So I'm tired of folks. So my feelings are hurt. Well, guess put on your big boy pants, grow up, and realize our country is a better place than where we were 100 years ago, 200 years ago. But we've got to fight, damn it, to keep it. And cut all this stuff out about everybody's got an emergency 911. My feelings got hurt. I need a Band-Aid. Sorry, backpacks and Band-Aids are not the way to go. I'm done with that. We got a real crisis of drugs and illegal aliens and folks who don't want our democracy and they don't want the freedoms we have in this country. But everybody keeps coming. And I don't see any of the people complaining with boats and planes trying to get out of here, Duck.
That's right. And let me just add to that. For all of those that want to go to some social media and be a keyboard warrior, right now is the time for you to show people what you are. Election filing period is open. Go and put your name on a ballot, and then let people talk to you and about you any way they want to. And maybe that will teach some of these keyboard warriors to think before they start trashing and maligning and belittling the elected officials that we have.
I know
a lot of good people stay away from that just because they don't want to be tore down publicly.
Yep.
They don't have the nerves or the wherewithal to withstand that. And when you start talking about people with families, their children don't need to be attacked because what mom and daddy's doing politically.
Yep. Now I know some keyboard warriors, and but as I say in a lot of ways, they're fine and safe behind their keyboard. But step out from behind there, and I'll meet you anywhere you want to. But they don't ever do that. So I understand you completely.
All they can do is put their name on the ballot. I don't even know how much it costs to run for county commissioner.
$48.
I think it's
$48.
How much?
$48.
Well, 3 or 4 of them need to sign up, and we'll